Welcome back, you night owls. Tonight we journey far, far away, not just in space, but in time, back to the heart of feudal Japan. We'll be stepping into a world of tradition, of brutal discipline, and of giants who move with the grace of mountains. Imagine it, the sweltering heat of summer, the low thatched roofs of a village nestled deep in the Japanese countryside. The only sounds are the cicada's relentless chorus and the distant splash of water from a rice paddy. You are a child here, a boy who towers over his peers, a head taller and twice as wide. The other children don't play with you, they watch you, a bit in awe, a bit in fear. You're not just big, you're an unstoppable force of nature, even as a child. This isn't the life you chose, it's the life that chose you, and you probably won't survive it. So before you get comfortable, take a moment to like the video and subscribe, but only if you genuinely enjoy what I do here. Let me know where you're listening from in the comments and what time it is for you right now. Now dim the lights, maybe turn on a fan for that soft background hum, and let's ease into tonight's journey together. You're only 7 years old, but your hands are already calloused, and your shoulders are already wide enough to span a small doorway. Your village is a place of back-breaking work. Every morning you rise with the sun to help your family in the fields. Your broad back and powerful arms are boon to their meagre existence. While other boys your age are still learning their letters, you are wrestling a stubborn bullock into submission or carrying sacks of grain that would make a grown man groan. Your father, a man weathered by a lifetime of toil, looks at you with a mix of pride and worry. He knows that your size is both a blessing and a curse. You're an asset to the family, a guarantee that this year's harvest won't fail, but you're also an anomaly, a spectacle. It is this very spectacle that one day brings a stranger to your village. He arrives on a dusty road, a man whose presence is as out of place as a swan in a chicken coop. He wears a fine silk kimono, a far cry from the rough-spun cotton of your neighbours, and his hair is meticulously styled in a topknot or shonmeige, a style you've only seen on woodblock prints of samurai. He is a talent scout, a hikyaku, and he's been travelling the countryside for weeks, searching for boys just like you. He doesn't announce himself with fanfare, he simply sits by the village well, observing. He watches as you haul 2 buckets of water effortlessly, as you playfully, but with a force that makes your friends stumble, wrestle a water buffalo, and as you scoop up a stray dog with one hand as if it were a kitten. He sees not a child, but potential, a canvas on which he can paint a masterpiece of muscle and might. Later that evening, he comes to your family's small smoke-filled hut. Your father, a man who bows to no one but his ancestors, bows deeply to this stranger. The scout, whose name you learn is Kenji, speaks in a soft, melodic voice, but his words carry the weight of an unshakable truth. He tells your father that you are a gift from the gods, a vessel for a greater purpose, that your life here, toiling in the mud, is a waste of your divine potential. He speaks of a world you can't possibly imagine, a world of fame, of riches, of glory, a world where you would be a hero, not just a farmer's son. He tells you that your destiny is to become a rikishi, a sumo wrestler, and your heart, a small, scared thing, flutters with a mix of terror and fascination. There's a mainstream historical fact right there for you. During the Edo period, sumo wrestlers were often scouted from rural areas. These were young men who, by virtue of their size and strength, were a natural fit for the grueling physical demands of the sport. For poor farming families, it was often the only way out of a life of poverty, a path to a better life for their children, and by extension, for the family itself. Historians still argue whether this system was a genuine opportunity or a form of sanctioned child trafficking. It's a bit of a grey area, isn't it? On one hand, you're being offered a path to glory, a chance to escape a life of back-breaking poverty. On the other, you're being sold, in a sense, to a man you don't know, to enter a world you can't possibly comprehend. A quirky or fringe tidbit from this time is that some of these scouts would use a special type of rope, woven with specific knots, to measure a boy's wrist and ankle circumference. They believed these measurements were a direct correlation to a wrestler's future success in the ring. The idea was that a large frame and a strong bone structure were the foundation of a great rikishi, and they were willing to trust a simple piece of knotted twine over any other indicator. It's a bit like modern-day sports scouts with their elaborate combines and metrics, but with a touch of old-world superstition. Your destiny, in a way, was measured by a string. That night, you lie on your futon, the thin straw mat beneath you feeling softer than usual, but the lump in your throat is hard as a stone. You listen to your parents' hushed whispers. Your father is hesitant, his voice heavy with doubt. Your mother is crying softly. You hear your name over and over. The boy, the money, his future. It's a transaction, but it's more than that. It's a gamble, a hope, a dream that your life might be more than the endless cycle of planting and harvesting, of scraping by just to survive. Your size, once a source of quiet shame and isolation, is now your ticket to a different life. A life you're not sure you want, but a life you know you cannot refuse. The scout Kenji has promised your family a generous sum of money, more than they've ever seen, but more importantly, he has promised you a place in the world, a purpose. And in a world where purpose is as fleeting as a firefly's glow, it is a promise worth everything. The next morning you wake before the sun. Your mother packs a small satchel with a few rice balls and a small wooden doll she carved for you. She gives it to you with a tearful smile, her eyes speaking a language of love and sorrow you won't understand until much later. Your father places a heavy, calloused hand on your shoulder. He doesn't say much, just, "Do not shame us." His words are a burden you will carry with you for the rest of your life. The scout is waiting. He doesn't rush you. He understands this moment. The moment a boy becomes a man, or at least begins the journey to becoming one. You turn and look back at your village, at the low roofs and the misty fields. This is the last time you will see it as a child. The road ahead is long, and the city of Edo is a world away, a world of noise and people and expectations you can't even begin to fathom. And so, you take the first step. You leave the only home you have ever known, your hand in a stranger's, and you walk towards a new life. A life of discipline, of sacrifice, and of pain. But also, a life of destiny. The road to Edo is not a simple path. It's a living, breathing thing, a long dusty serpent that winds its way through the very soul of Japan. Your hand, once used to the feel of rough wood and cool earth, now grasps a silk-clad forearm as the scout Kenji leads you onward. The journey is an education in itself. You see things you never imagined existed. You pass through bustling market towns, where the air is thick with the scent of spices and roasting meat. A stark contrast to the simple meals of your village. People stare at you, their eyes widening at your height and build. They whisper to each other, their words a curious mix of awe and speculation. Is he a samurai? One might ask. No, he's too big, another would reply. Kenji just smiles, a small knowing smirk that says, they have no idea. You sleep in the simple inns along the way, where the straw mats feel scratchy and unfamiliar, and the sounds of the road never truly cease. Kenji tells you stories, not of glorious battles or ancient myths, but of the world of sumo. He speaks of legendary wrestlers, men whose names are whispered with reverence, men who hold the rank of yokozuna, a title of such prestige it borders on the divine. He describes their lives of discipline, their immense power, and the adulation they receive from the public. He paints a picture of a life of honour, a life you can barely comprehend. You listen, your young mind trying to absorb it all, the words weaving a new tapestry of destiny in your head, one that replaces the simple, humble patterns of your childhood. The first few days are filled with wonder. The world is so much bigger than your village. You see mountains that scrape the sky, rivers that twist and turn like sleeping dragons, and forests so dense they seem to swallow the sun. But as the days turn into a week, and then into 2, the novelty begins to wear off. The journey becomes a grueling test of endurance. Your feet, accustomed to soft earth, ache from the constant pounding on hard, packed roads. The simple rice balls your mother packed run out, and your meals become whatever the meagre inns can provide. You're always hungry. Always. Your body, a growing machine of muscle and bone, seems to have an insatiable appetite that nothing can satisfy. You feel a pang of homesickness, a deep, aching loneliness for the familiar sounds and smells of your village, for the simple comfort of your mother's presence. You think of your parents, of their hope and their sacrifice, and you push the feelings down, burying them under the dust of the road. There's a mainstream historical fact here. The journey to Edo was a significant undertaking. Most sumo recruits came from remote rural areas, and the trip to the capital could take weeks or even months. It was a physical and psychological trial, designed to test a young boy's resolve and commitment before he even set foot in a sumo stable. This was the first hurdle, a sort of natural selection, that weeded out those who lacked the mental fortitude for the life ahead. Historians still argue whether this arduous journey was an intentional part of the hazing process, or just a simple, geographical reality of the time. Regardless, it was a profound experience that separated a boy from his past, forcing him to confront a new, uncertain future. A quirky tidbit from the road is that some travelling merchants would use specific coded whistles to communicate with each other over long distances. A short, sharp whistle might mean trouble ahead, while a long, low whistle could signal a good inn. These secret signals were a way for them to navigate the often dangerous roads and ensure their safety and profit. It's a bit like a 17th century version of Waze, but with a lot more dust and a lot less data. You don't understand the whistles, but you hear them, a strange, secret language that seems to exist just for the road itself. It's another sign that you're no longer in your simple world. One evening, as you are nearing Edo, Kenji points to the horizon. In the distance, a faint hazy glow hangs in the air. It's the city. That, he says, his voice a low whisper, is the capital of the world. And your new home. You stare, a sense of awe and dread washing over you. The city is a monster, a sprawling beast of a place that seems to consume the entire landscape. As you get closer, the roads become wider, and the traffic becomes a chaotic river of people, carts, and palanquins. The noise is overwhelming, a constant hum of chatter, the clatter of wooden sandals on stone, the shouts of vendors. You've never seen so many people in one place. They move with a purpose you can't quite grasp, a frantic energy that makes you feel like a slow-moving boulder in a rushing stream. Kenji guides you through the labyrinthine streets, your village boy clothes a beacon of your rural origins. The smells are a mix of charcoal smoke, fermented soybeans, and something vaguely metallic. The air feels heavy, different from the clean, fresh air of the countryside. You're a fish out of water, a giant among thousands of tiny scurrying beings. You feel small despite your size, or the immensity of the city, the sheer number of people, the overwhelming sensory assault. It makes you realise just how insignificant you are in this grand tapestry. This is a humbling moment, a necessary one. The ego that might have been nurtured in your village is being systematically dismantled brick by the sheer scale of the world around you. After what feels like an eternity, Kenji stops in front of a large, unassuming wooden gate. The building behind it is plain, with a high fence and a single small window. It's not grand or imposing like you imagined. It looks more like a barracks. Kenji knocks on the gate with a rhythmic pattern that seems to have a specific meaning. The gate opens just a crack, and a stern, bulky man looks you up and down. His eyes are like chips of flint, and his face is a craggy landscape of old scars. You feel a prickle of fear. This man, you realise, is a veteran, a part of the world you're about to enter. He and Kenji exchange a few brief words, and then the gate swings open. Kenji places a hand on your shoulder and gives you a gentle push. Your journey ends here, he says. Your new life begins. And just like that, you're inside. The gate closes behind you with a heavy final thud. The sounds of the city are muffled, and a new silence, a heavy expectant silence, falls over you. You're no longer on the road. You're here, in the heart of the beast, your new home. The thud of the gate closing behind you is a sound you will never forget. It's the sound of the world you knew shutting its doors forever. The air inside the compound feels thick, heavy with the scent of sweat, dust, and something else. Something you can't quite place, but it's a smell that speaks of hard work and long hours. The courtyard is a simple gravel space, bordered on all sides by a high wooden fence. The main building, the bear or sumo stable, is a large unadorned wooden structure. Its shoji screens and sliding doors a muted canvas of a life you're about to enter. Suddenly, a figure emerges from the building. He is immense, a mountain of a man with a stern, impassive face. He wears a simple cotton yukata tied with a sash, and his hair is in a perfect oiled topknot. His shoulders are as wide as the gate itself, and his legs are thick, gnarled trunks of muscle. This is the Oyakata, the stable master. He is the sun and moon of this world, the absolute authority. He stares at you, his gaze sweeping over your raw, untamed form, and for the first time in your life, you feel small. Not small in a physical sense, but in a spiritual one. You're nothing. You're a lump of clay, and he is the master potter. He says nothing, just a low grunt. Kenji, the scout, bows deeply, his head almost touching the ground. He gestures to you, and you instinctively follow his lead, bowing as low as your stiff joints will allow. The Oyakata gestures with a single hand, a silent command to enter. You slide the door open and step inside. The air is warm and smells faintly of a rich stew. The floor is made of smooth, polished wood, and you're instructed to take off your sandals. The sound of your bare feet on the cool wood is the only noise in the main hall. You pass a long, low dining table, and you see a massive iron pot in the centre of the room. This, you will learn, is the heart of the stable, the source of its power. You're introduced to a few other boys, who seem to be a little older than you, but are all dwarfed by your immense frame. They watch you with a mixture of curiosity and apprehension. The hierarchy is immediately apparent. The oldest boys, who look to be in their mid to late teens, have a quiet confidence in their posture. The younger ones shuffle their feet and keep their eyes down. You are at the very bottom, a jakuchi, a novice, a nobody. You have no name here, you're just the new one. One of the older boys, a lanky youth with a surprisingly deep voice, is assigned to show you the ropes. His name is Hiroshi, and he will be your guide, your tormentor, and eventually your only true friend in this isolating world. He leads you to a small, cramped room with a few thin futons on the floor. This is where you sleep, he says, his voice flat and tired. And this, he adds, gesturing to a small bucket and a stack of rags, is what you will use to clean the stable, every morning, before anyone else wakes up. You nod, your mind already trying to catalogue these new rules, these unspoken expectations. The first day is a blur of new information and silent observation. You learn that your life is no longer your own. You wake when you are told, you eat when you are told, you train when you are told. Your every action, from the way you sit to the way you stand, is governed by a set of rigid, ancient customs. You're a cog in a great, powerful machine, and if you don't fit, you will be discarded. There's a mainstream historical fact here. The Beia system is the foundation of sumo. It's a centuries-old tradition where wrestlers live and train together under the strict guidance of a stable master. The stable is not just a training centre, it is a surrogate family, a communal home where every aspect of a wrestler's life, from their diet to their social interactions, is controlled. This system is a core reason why sumo has maintained its rituals and traditions for so long. Historians still argue whether this system's rigid control fosters discipline or stifles individual expression. It's a bit of both, isn't it? It builds a cohesive team, but at the cost of personal freedom. A quirky or fringe tidbit from this period is that the most junior members of the stable were often given the task of preparing the senior wrestlers' baths. This was a high-stakes chore. If the water was too hot or too cold, or if they didn't scrub a senior wrestler's back with the right amount of pressure, they would face punishment. The perfect bath was seen as an art form, a crucial part of the daily ritual, and a way to prove one's humility and dedication. You will learn very quickly that a slightly too hot bath is a far less painful mistake than a slightly too cold one. That night, you lie on your futon, listening to the unfamiliar sounds of the stable. The rhythmic snoring of the older wrestlers, the rustle of straw mats, the distant patter of rain on the roof. You are an outsider, a stranger in a strange land. Your body aches from a day of menial labour you've never had to do before. You think of your mother's gentle smile, of your father's heavy hand, of the familiar comforting sounds of the countryside. A single tear escapes your eye, tracing a hot path down your cheek. You quickly wipe it away. Crying is a weakness you cannot afford here. You're a rikishi now, a warrior of the ring, and warriors do not cry. You close your eyes and try to summon the image of the great mountains you saw on the journey here, tall and unyielding. You must become a mountain yourself, solid, unshakable. The next morning you wake before the sun, as you were told. The air is cold and still. You quietly retrieve your bucket and rags and begin to clean the stable. The floor is vast and seems to stretch on forever. As you scrub, you can hear the sounds of the other wrestlers beginning to stir. The senior members rise first, followed by the middle ranks, and finally, the novices. The silence of the night is replaced by a quiet, purposeful activity. You're a ghost. a presence that is seen but not acknowledged. You are the bottom of the ladder, and the only way to go is up. Your first encounter with the doyo, the sacred clay ring, is a revelation. It sits in the centre of the training hall, a perfect circle of compacted clay and sand raised a few feet off the ground. The air around it seems to shimmer with a quiet power. It is not just a ring, it is a holy place, a sanctuary. You are told to sweep it clean, to clear away the dust and stray grains of sand. As you work, your fingers tracing the edges of the sacred circle, you feel a sense of purpose you've never felt before. This is what you came here for. This is the heart of the beast, and you, a humble country boy, will one day step into this sacred space and fight. But first, you must earn the right to even touch the clay. The path is long, the trials are many, and your journey has only just begun. The next day, the true test begins. Before the sun has even thought about showing its face, the Oyakata's booming voice echoes through the stable. Get up! Keiko! Now! It is your first experience with a full-force training session, and it is nothing like you could have ever imagined. It's not a workout. It's an ordeal. You're led into the main training hall where the doyo sits, still and perfect in the dim light. The senior wrestlers, the sekitori, are already there, their immense bodies glistening with a thin sheen of sweat, their faces impassive. They look like statues carved from granite and wood. You, by contrast, feel like a shivering little bird. The training keiko is a brutal ballet of controlled violence. It starts with the basics, exercises designed to build an unbreakable foundation. You're told to perform shiko, a stomping motion where you raise one leg high into the air and bring it down with a thunderous crash, alternating between left and right. The goal is to build power in your legs and hips, to strengthen your core, and to feel the very earth tremble beneath your feet. But for a novice like you, it is pure torture. Your legs burn, your hips ache, and the sheer repetition feels endless. The Oyakata watches, his hawk-like eyes missing nothing. If your leg isn't high enough, or if the stomp isn't forceful enough, he'll let you know with a sharp, guttural shout. Next comes suriashi, a gliding footwork exercise where you slide your feet along the floor without lifting them, a perfect low crouch maintained the entire time. It's meant to teach you balance and stability, to prepare you for the explosive low-to-the-ground attacks of a real bout. You try to mimic the senior wrestlers, but you're clumsy and uncoordinated. You trip, you lose your balance, and you feel the weight of 1,000 eyes on you. The other novices laugh under their breath, and you feel a hot flush of shame creep up your neck. You're a giant, but you move like a newborn foal. But the real test is Butsukari Geiko, the receiving charge practice. This is where you get to truly know the meaning of pain. An older wrestler, a mountain of a man with a scarred face, stands in the centre of the ring. You're told to charge him, to hit him with everything you have. You run at him, your young muscles straining, and you hit his massive frame with a sickening thud. It's like running into a brick wall. He doesn't budge, he just stands there, his body absorbing your charge, and then he shoves you back. Hard. The force sends you flying across the ring, landing in a heap on the dusty clay. The wind is knocked out of you, your bones feel like jelly, and you lie there for a moment just trying to breathe. Again, the Oyakata yells. You get up, your entire body screaming in protest, and you charge him again, and again, and again. Each time, the result is the same. He takes your charge without blinking and shoves you back with a force that feels like a runaway train. Your shoulders ache, your head rings, and you can feel the bruises forming on your chest and arms. This is not about fighting. It's about conditioning. It's about learning to absorb punishment, about training your body to endure the relentless, explosive power of a professional match. It's a brutal lesson in humility. There's a mainstream historical fact right here. Keiko is the foundation of sumo. It's a combination of strength training, flexibility, and a deep understanding of leverage and balance. The morning training sessions are notoriously long and grueling, often lasting for hours without a single break for food or water. This intense physical regimen is designed to not only build a wrestler's body, but to forge their spirit, creating a mental toughness that is just as important as their physical prowess. Historians still argue whether the intensity of keiko is truly necessary for peak physical performance, or if it's a form of hazing that has been glorified over time. It's a fine line, isn't it? The pain is real, but so is the progress. A quirky or fringe tidbit from the Edo period is that many wrestlers believed the best way to soothe their aching muscles after a particularly brutal session of Butsukari Geiko was to take a hot bath infused with a variety of medicinal herbs and roots. But not just any herbs. They would often use ground-up deer antlers, believing the regenerative properties of the antler would transfer to their own bodies. It's a bit of ancient biohacking, a blend of folk medicine and wishful thinking. You don't know if it works, but you do know that any bath feels like a miracle after a day of being a human punching bag. As the weeks turn into months, you start to see the changes. Your body, once a raw, unrefined tool, begins to take shape. Your shoulders broaden, your chest expands, and your legs become tree trunks of muscle. The exercises that once brought you to the brink of tears become a little less painful. You can now perform a few dozen shiko before your legs give out. You can slide your feet across the floor without stumbling. You can take a few charges without being sent flying across the room. The progress is slow, almost imperceptible on a day-to-day basis, but over time, it becomes undeniable. The physical pain is relentless, but it's the psychological toll that is the most difficult. You're constantly on display, constantly being judged. The Oyakata's silent disapproval is a weight on your soul. The quiet whispers of the other wrestlers are like tiny needles pricking your ego. You're constantly reminded that you are a nobody, an unproven commodity. But in this crucible of pain and humiliation, a new part of you is born, a part that refuses to break, a part that is fueled by a desire to prove them all wrong. One afternoon, as you're once again the recipient of a brutal Butsukari Geiko session, you're sent flying across the ring, a familiar, sickening feeling. But this time, something is different. As you hit the ground, instead of lying there, you immediately roll over and push yourself back up onto your feet. You are wobbly, but you're ready for more. The older wrestler looks at you, a flicker of surprise in his eyes. The Oyakata, who has been watching impassively, gives a single, sharp nod of approval. It's a small thing, a tiny gesture, but it feels like a victory. You're not just enduring the punishment, you're beginning to overcome it. You end your day of training covered in sweat, dirt, and bruises. Every muscle in your body screams in protest. As you perform your final duty of sweeping the dojo, you feel a quiet pride. This sacred clay, once so intimidating, is now a part of you. The dust that clings to your skin is a symbol of your dedication, your sacrifice. You came here as a boy, a raw piece of potential. Now you are a machine in the making, a warrior in training, and you know, deep in your soul, that this is just the beginning. The pain will only get worse, but so will your ability to endure it. The beast has only just begun to be tamed, and you are slowly, painstakingly, becoming the master of your own monstrous destiny. If Keiko is the fire that forges your body, then Chanko is the fuel that makes the fire burn. You've been in the Bayer for weeks now, and your hunger has become a constant companion, a hollow ache in the pit of your stomach that no amount of water can soothe. But after the morning's brutal training session, the air in the stable fills with a new, glorious scent. It's a rich, savoury aroma, the smell of simmered meats, vegetables, and a medley of other ingredients. This is chanko nabe, the staple of the sumo diet, and it is a feast of Homeric proportions. You're ushered into the main dining hall, a large open space with low tables arranged on the polished floor. The sight before you is almost overwhelming. In the centre of each table sits a massive iron pot, bubbling and steaming with the rich stew. The older wrestlers, the sekitori, are already seated, their immense bodies a testament to the power of this food. As a lowly novice, you must wait. You sit on the sidelines, your stomach growling a symphony of anticipation, your eyes fixed on the feast before you. You watch as the senior wrestlers ladle generous portions of meat, tofu and vegetables into their bowls. This, you learn, is the custom. The senior wrestlers eat first, and only when they are finished can the junior wrestlers and novices approach the table. Finally, after what feels like an eternity, the Oyakata gives a silent signal, and the feast begins for you and the other novices. You rush to the pot, but not too quickly. That would be a sign of greed, an unforgivable sin. You fill your bowl, your hands trembling with a mixture of hunger and excitement. The taste is unlike anything you have ever known. It's hearty, complex, and unbelievably satisfying. It's not just food, it's a calorie-dense engine designed to build and maintain the massive bodies of the wrestlers. The diet is more than just a matter of sustenance. It's a strategic part of the training. You're taught to eat as much as you can, as quickly as you can, and then, immediately afterward, to nap. This is the cornerstone of the sumo lifestyle. The post-meal nap, or hairun, is not a luxury, it's a requirement. The idea is to consume a massive amount of food, while your metabolism is at its peak after a grueling morning workout, and then to immediately go to sleep. This allows your body to store the calories as fat and muscle, rapidly increasing your weight. There's a mainstream historical fact here. Chankonabe is an essential part of a sumo wrestler's life. The stew, while often translated as sumo stew, can be made with a variety of ingredients, including chicken, fish, tofu, and a range of vegetables. The key is its high-calorie content and protein-rich composition. It's a carefully crafted, nutrient-dense meal designed to fuel the body's growth. Historians still argue whether the Chanko diet was developed out of tradition or a more practical need to bulk up wrestlers quickly and efficiently in a time when food could be scarce. It's a system that has been perfected over centuries, a testament to the ingenuity of the sport. A quirky or fringe tidbit is that the most common base for Chanko is chicken broth. The reason for this is steeped in superstition. Wrestlers believe that because a chicken stands on two legs, eating it will keep them from falling over during a match. The superstition, while silly, is a part of the daily ritual, a quiet nod to the ancient beliefs that still govern the sport. You will come to learn that every part of this life, from the way you eat to the way you bow, is imbued with meaning and tradition. The sheer volume of food you're expected to consume is staggering. You're given a large, heavy bowl, and you're expected to fill it to the brim. The older wrestlers watch you, a quiet pressure in their gaze that says, "Eat more, get bigger." You're no longer just a boy who is big. You're a boy who must become bigger. You learn to eat until you're so full you feel sick, and then you eat a little more. You stuff your face, your hands moving like a blur, knowing that the more you eat, the closer you get to the ideal. The meal is not a time for socializing, it's a time for consumption. The silence is broken only by the sounds of chewing and the occasional slurp. After the meal, you feel sluggish and heavy. Your body is screaming for rest. You find your way back to your cramped room and you lie on your futon, the full weight of the Chanko in your belly. The post-meal nap is a sacred ritual. You're not to be disturbed. The stable becomes quiet, a great beast sleeping off its meal. You close your eyes and you can almost feel your body changing, growing, expanding. The discomfort is real, but so is the potential for growth. You dream of food, of glorious, endless bowls of Chanko. But the life of a novice is not just about eating and sleeping. After your nap, you are back to work. You have to clean the training hall, sweep the gravel courtyard, and assist the older wrestlers with their personal chores. The sheer amount of work is designed to keep you busy, to keep you humble, to remind you that your position in the hierarchy is at the very bottom. You might be the biggest boy in the stable, but you're still just a servant, a joker, a glorified errand boy. The contrast between the hours of grueling, body-breaking training, the ritual of the feast, and the menial, back-breaking chores is a constant source of mental whiplash. One moment, you are a warrior, pushing your body to its absolute limits. The next, you are a servant, scrubbing floors and running errands. It is a system designed to build your body while simultaneously stripping away your ego. You learn that strength is not just about muscle, it's about humility. You look in the small, polished metal mirror in your room, and you no longer recognize the boy who left the village. Your face is rounder, your cheeks are fuller, and your jaw is broader. Your shoulders, once just wide, are now massive. Your body is a canvas that is being slowly, painstakingly transformed. The boy who was once an anomaly is now a work in progress, a masterpiece of meat and muscle, all thanks to the relentless cycle of Keiko and Chanko. The journey from a rural farming village to the heart of Edo was a physical and emotional trial. The entrance into the bear was a humbling experience, but the rigours of Keiko and the ritual of the Chanko diet are the crucible in which you are truly forged. You are a product of your environment, a warrior shaped by tradition, a fighter fueled by stew. And you know, deep in your gut, that this is only the beginning. The path to glory is paved with sweat, pain, and a whole lot of delicious high-calorie stew. The beast is now truly a part of you, and it is ravenous. Your life as a joker, a novice, is a study in humility. You are the lowest form of life in the Beia hierarchy, a fact that is reinforced in every waking moment. You're not just a trainee, you are a servant, a glorified scullery boy with a monstrous appetite. Your days are a relentless, monotonous cycle of back-breaking chores and even more back-breaking training. There are no days off, no moments of true relaxation. Even when you are not actively working, you are on call, ready to spring into action at the slightest whim of a senior wrestler. Your first duty of the day begins long before the sun even hints at the horizon. You are the alarm clock, the silent, invisible force that makes the stable run. You sweep the floors, polish the wood to a high sheen, and ensure that the training hall, the Keiko bar, is spotless before the older wrestlers arrive for morning practice. You are a ghost, a presence that must be felt but not seen. You move with a quiet, practiced efficiency, your immense body a shadow in the pre-dawn gloom. The silence is a heavy blanket, broken only by the rhythmic swish of your broom and the occasional groan from a sleeping wrestler. After the morning's brutal training, your work is far from over. While the senior wrestlers take their ritualistic post-chanko nap, you're in the kitchen, scrubbing massive iron pots and mountains of bowls. The grease is thick and stubborn, and the water is often lukewarm. Your hands, once calloused from farm work, are now raw and wrinkled from the constant immersion in dirty water. This is not the glamorous life you were promised. This is a life of servitude, of quiet degradation. But the most important of your duties is serving the Sekitori, the top-ranked wrestlers. You are their personal assistant, their valet. You prepare their bath, a task you now understand is a sacred ritual. The water must be the perfect temperature, not too hot, not too cold. The towels must be folded just so. You must scrub their backs with the right amount of pressure, not too gentle, not too rough. A misplaced towel or a lukewarm bath can earn you a sharp slap to the back of the head, a painful reminder of your place in the pecking order. You learn to read their moods, to anticipate their needs, to move without being told. You're a mind reader, a silent servant, a machine of servitude. There's a mainstream historical fact here. The rigid hierarchy of a Beia is not just a social structure. It's a system designed to teach discipline and humility. The Joker are not only responsible for menial tasks, but are also expected to run errands for the senior wrestlers, acting as their personal assistants. This system, which can seem brutal to an outsider, is viewed as an essential part of a wrestler's journey, teaching them respect for their elders and the value of hard work. Historians still argue whether the Joker system is a necessary rite of passage or a form of sanctioned bullying that should have been left in the past. It's a bit of a tricky thing, isn't it? One man's discipline is another man's humiliation. A quirky or fringe tidbit is that in some stables, the Joker were also responsible for waking up the Sekitori for practice, but they were not allowed to touch them. Instead, they had to use a special, long, curved bamboo stick to gently poke the wrestler's feet. The rationale was that a direct touch from a novice could be seen as an insult to the senior wrestler's tachi, or dignity. It's a small detail, but it speaks volumes about the level of reverence and separation between the ranks. You will learn very quickly that the bamboo stick is a tool of great power, and you will learn to use it with surgical precision. You are constantly hungry, despite the massive meals. The chanko is a feast, but it is not enough to fuel your body's relentless growth and the ceaseless work you're expected to perform. You learn to sneak a few extra grains of rice or a stray piece of vegetable when no one is looking. You learn to eat quickly, to shove food into your mouth before you're caught. Hunger is a constant, gnawing presence, a part of the air you breathe. It's a silent motivator, a reminder that your current state is not a luxury, but a hardship you must overcome. One afternoon, you are sent on an errand for an older wrestler. He has a craving for a specific type of sweet bean cake from a shop on the other side of town. The shop is a long, tiring walk, and you are tired and hungry. But you don't complain. You don't even sigh. You simply nod, bow, and go. The city of Edo, once a source of wonder, is now just a series of long, hot streets you must traverse. You pass by people laughing and talking, their lives a million miles away from yours. They don't see you. They see a giant, a lumbering mountain of a boy. They have no idea that you are a servant, a joker, a glorified errand boy. You finally arrive at the sweet shop, and the owner, a wizened old man with a kind smile, recognizes you. He knows you're a sumo trainee. He gives you a knowing look and adds a little extra cake to your bag. He does it quietly, without fanfare. It's a small, kind gesture, but it means everything. It's a flicker of humanity in a world that is designed to be cold and unforgiving. You feel a lump in your throat and you turn away quickly, not wanting him to see the gratitude in your eyes. You return to the stable, your mission a success. The older wrestler takes the bag of sweets from you without a word of thanks. He doesn't even look at you. He just takes the bag and goes inside. You stand there for a moment. The silence of his indifference a cold slap to your face. You are a tool, a means to an end. You feel the familiar sting of humiliation, the quiet rage that is now your constant companion. But you don't lash out. You don't complain. You just turn and go back to your chores. This is the life of a joker. It is a life of endless servitude, of thankless tasks, of a quiet, unacknowledged existence. But it is also a life of learning. You learn to endure. You learn to swallow your pride. You learn to push through the pain and the exhaustion. You learn that in order to rise, you must first fall, and you must fall hard. You are a mountain in the making, but first, you must be a rock at the bottom of the sea. As you finish your chores for the day, you look at your hands. They are scraped and bruised, but they are also stronger. Your back aches, but it is also straighter. Your heart feels heavy, but it is also harder. You are a different person than the boy who left the village. You are a joker, a servant, a nobody. But you're also a fighter. You're being broken down, but you're also being built back up. And you know, with a quiet certainty, that this humbling, thankless existence is the first step on a long and difficult path to greatness. The path to becoming a rikishi is paved with pain, but you are slowly, painstakingly, laying the bricks. The Oyakata is a distant god, a silent, all-seeing eye that governs your world. He rarely speaks to you directly. His commands filtered through the senior wrestlers. His presence is a heavy weight in the air, a constant reminder of your lowly status. But one day, that distance collapses. You're in the kitchen, scrubbing a pot that feels as if it has been welded to the stove with 1,000 years of grime. The steam is hot and thick, and your back aches from being bent over for hours. You're humming a simple tune from your village, a small comfort in the monotonous grind. Suddenly a shadow falls over you. You stop humming and look up. The Oyakata is standing there, his face an impassive mask. You freeze, your heart a frantic drum against your ribs. He says nothing, just looks at the pot. He reaches out a massive hand, his fingers thicker than your wrist, and touches the surface. He grunts, a low rumbling sound that seems to shake the very floorboards. He then looks at you, his eyes locking with yours. You can't look away. His gaze is a physical force, a weight on your soul. He speaks, and his voice is low, but it fills the kitchen. "You're scrubbing with your hands," he says. It's not a question. You're a rikishi. You must scrub with your entire body, with your shoulders, with your back, with your legs. He says it as if it's the most obvious thing in the world. He demonstrates, squatting low, his immense frame a picture of power and stability. He shows you how to use your whole body, to put your full weight and strength into the movement, to make the pot yield to your will. It's a lesson in leverage, in the application of force. It's a lesson that applies to everything, not just scrubbing a pot. It's a lesson about sumo. You try to mimic his movements, but you're clumsy and awkward. He watches for a moment, and then, without a word, he raises his hand and delivers a sharp, stinging slap to the back of your head. It's not a malicious blow, but a pedagogical one, a physical correction. It's a wake-up call. "Again," he says, his voice a low rumble. You get back to the pot, but this time, you channel everything he just taught you. You squat low, your back straight, your shoulders hunched over the pot. You put your entire body into the motion, and the pot, once so stubborn, seems to give a little. The grime begins to loosen. You're not just scrubbing, you are fighting. This is a mainstream historical fact. The Oyakata's role is far more than just a coach. He is a master, a father figure, and a spiritual guide. His punishments, while sometimes harsh, are a core part of the learning process. They are not seen as acts of cruelty, but as necessary corrections, designed to instill discipline, humility, and the correct form. The physical correction is often preferred over a long lecture, as it is a message that the body understands immediately and remembers forever. Historians still argue whether this system of physical discipline is an effective teaching tool or a brutal relic of a bygone era. It's a complex question, isn't it? A blow that teaches a lesson versus a blow that simply hurts. A quirky or fringe tidbit is that in some stables the oyakata would carry a special fan with him at all times. This fan, often made of iron and beautifully decorated, was not for fanning. It was a tool of his authority. A single tap on the head with the fan was a sign of a mistake, a clear, unspoken command to correct a form or a posture. It was a silent language, a form of communication that required no words. You will come to fear the sight of that fan in his hand, a small, deadly object that holds the power to humiliate or instruct. The encounter with the oyakata is a turning point. You realise that his distance is not indifference, but a test. He is watching you, always. He's waiting to see if you have the discipline, the will and the spirit to become a true rikishi. Your work, once a monotonous grind, now has a purpose. Every chore, every movement is a form of training. The way you sweep the floor, the way you carry a bucket of water, it's all part of the larger lesson. You are a mountain in the making, and every pebble you move is a testament to your journey. One afternoon, as you are once again scrubbing the pot, your form is correct, your body is engaged, and the pot is gleaming. The oyakata walks by again. This time, he doesn't stop. He just looks at the pot, then at you. He gives a small, almost imperceptible nod. It's a small thing, a tiny gesture, but it feels like a thunderclap. It's the first sign of approval you've ever received. It's the moment you realise you're not just a servant, you're a student, and your teacher is a master. The physical and emotional toll of the Joker life is immense, but the occasional glimpses of approval from the oyakata are the fuel that keeps you going. They are a promise of a better future, a light at the end of a very long, dark tunnel. You realise that the path to greatness is not just about physical strength, it's about earning the respect of your master, about proving your worth in a world that is designed to test you at every turn. Your quiet rage, once a constant companion, begins to change. It is no longer a feeling of helplessness, but a burning desire to prove yourself. You want to show the oyakata that his slap was not wasted, that his lesson was not forgotten. You want to prove to the other wrestlers that you are not just a lowly joker, but a future champion. You want to prove to yourself that the boy who left the village was not a fool, but a man of destiny. The encounter with the oyakata is a turning point in your journey. You are no longer just a boy in a new world. You're a student under the tutelage of a master. The path ahead is still long and difficult, but now you have a purpose. You have a goal. You're not just trying to survive, you are trying to thrive. And you know, deep in your soul, that the pain and humiliation are not just a part of the journey, they are the journey itself. The beast is now a part of you, and it is ready to be a student, a sponge, ready to absorb every lesson no matter how painful. The iron will of the oyakata is shaping your raw strength into something more. It's shaping you into a warrior. The morning of your debut is a strange cocktail of anxiety and adrenaline. You've spent months as a joker, an invisible servant in a world of giants, but today you are a rikishi. You're no longer just a boy in a beya. You're a fighter, a warrior of the ring. You are given a new yukata, a simple cotton robe, and a new title, a maizumo, the lowest rank in the official sumo hierarchy. You will not have the oiled top knot or the magnificent silk mawashi of the senior wrestlers, but you will wear a simple, unadorned training belt. This is your first step into the public eye, your first chance to prove that you are more than just a large body. You and the other novices are led through the bustling streets of Edo. The city, which once seemed so terrifying and overwhelming, now feels different. You are no longer a solitary figure. You are a part of a procession, a small cog in a great machine. You can hear the distant roar of the crowd, a low rumbling sound that grows louder with every step. The sound is not just noise, it's a living thing, a hungry beast waiting to be fed. You feel a tremor of fear, a cold hand of doubt that grips your gut. What if you lose? What if you're humiliated in front of everyone? The shame would be a brand on your soul. You arrive at the Kokugikan, the sumo arena, a grand, imposing structure that seems to rise out of the ground like a wooden mountain. The air is electric, thick with the scent of popcorn, grilled fish, and the faint, sweet smell of sake. You are ushered into a waiting area backstage, a chaotic world of 100 voices, of nervous energy, and of other wrestlers, some just like you, others immense and powerful. You see a few familiar faces from other stables, boys who, like you, left their villages for a chance at glory. You give them a small, tight nod, a silent acknowledgement of your shared fate. You're called to the ring. The doyo, the sacred clay circle you have swept and trained on for months, is now bathed in the light of the sun, and it seems to shimmer with a quiet power. You step onto the raised platform and the roar of the crowd hits you like a physical wave. There are thousands of people, a sea of faces stretching as far as you can see. They are all looking at you. You feel a sudden, profound sense of isolation. You are alone in the centre of the world. Your opponent is a boy from another stable, a head shorter than you but with a wiry strength that you can feel radiating from him. He looks as scared as you are. The referee, a figure of authority in his ceremonial robes, gives the signal. The match begins. You charge at each other, the months of Butsukari Geiko training instinct kicking in. You hit him hard, your shoulders connecting with his chest with a sickening thud. He goes down. It's over in a flash, a matter of seconds. You stand there, panting, your heart still racing, and you hear the referee's voice. "Winner, you!" The crowd gives a polite applause, a small ripple of sound in the vast arena. You step off the doyo, your legs feeling like jelly. You have won, but it doesn't feel like a victory. It feels like a moment of escape. You have survived. You have not been humiliated. You have taken your first step and you have not stumbled. You are a rikishi. The taste of victory, however small, is intoxicating. It's a drug, a promise that all the pain, all the humiliation, all the hard work will one day be worth it. There's a mainstream historical fact here. The Sumo is the lowest division in professional sumo, and its matches are an important part of the tournaments. These bouts, while not as grand as those of the top divisions, are a crucial first step for aspiring wrestlers. The Sumo wrestlers do not have a ranking yet, and are in a sort of probationary period. Their performance in these early matches determines their place in the lower ranks. Historians still argue whether the Sumo bouts are a fair assessment of a wrestler's potential, or a simple test of their ability to handle the pressure of public performance. It's a high-stakes introduction, isn't it? One chance to make a first impression. A quirky or fringe tidbit from the Edo period is that many of the spectators who attended the sumo tournaments were not just there for the sport, they were there to gamble. Illegal gambling on sumo matches was rampant, and the smaller Sumo bouts were often a popular subject for low-stakes bets. A simple glance at the size of the wrestlers, a rumour about their training, or a bit of gossip about their stable could be enough to influence a bet. It's a strange thought, isn't it? Your first match, your first public moment, and your fate is in the hands of a few gamblers in the cheap seats. The next few days are a blur of matches. You win a few, you lose a few. With each victory, a little bit of the shame and the fear melts away, replaced by a quiet confidence. With each loss, you learn. You learn that your size is not enough. You learn that technique, balance, and a low centre of gravity are far more important than brute strength. You watch the other wrestlers, you study their moves, and you try to absorb everything you can. This is a university of violence, and the doyo is your classroom. You're now a part of the spectacle. You're no longer just a student in a beya, you're a public figure. People recognise you on the street. They point at you and whisper. They call out your name, a new name, a name that was given to you by the oyakata. It is a simple, unadorned name, but it is your name as a rikishi. Your old name, the name from your village, is a ghost, a forgotten memory. You are now the man of the ring, the warrior of the clay. Your first tournament ends. You have a few more wins than losses, a solid performance that earns you a new rank, a tiny step up the ladder. You're now a ranked wrestler, a jonakuchi. It is the lowest official rank, but it is a rank nonetheless. You're no longer a nobody. You have a place in the world. You have a purpose. You return to the beya a different person. The other wrestlers look at you with a new respect. You're no longer just the new one. You have earned your place. The oyakata looks at you, his face still impassive, but you can feel a quiet approval in his gaze. He doesn't say anything, but he doesn't need to. The message is clear. You have survived. You have passed the first test. The life of a joker is not over, but it is different. You still perform menial tasks, but you are now a veteran among the newcomers. You're no longer the one being trained. You are the one who will one day do the training. You will be the one who slaps the back of the head, the one who teaches the new ones the meaning of humility. The cycle continues. You lie on your futon that night, your body aching, your mind buzzing with the memory of the crowd, the taste of victory, the feel of the clay beneath your feet. You're a long way from the small dusty village you left behind. The boy who was afraid of a stranger is gone. In his place is a man, a fighter, a warrior. The journey is still long, the road is still difficult, but for the first time, you can see a glimmer of a possible future. A future where you're not just a servant, but a champion. The beast has been unleashed, and now it has had its first taste of glory. With your first matches under your belt and a new rank to your name, you begin to truly understand the complex, rigid social structure of the Beia. It's a world within a world, a microcosm of Edo society, but with its own unique and unyielding rules. Your rank, Jonakuchi, is the lowest of the ranked divisions, a single step above the unranked novices, but it's a crucial one. It means you're no longer a nobody. You have a name. You have a place. The hierarchy is based on a simple principle: seniority and rank. The higher your rank, the more privileges you have, and the more respect you command. The bottom rung is occupied by you and the other junior wrestlers, the Joker and Masumo. You eat last, you perform all the menial chores, and you sleep in a cramped communal room. You're expected to defer to every wrestler above you, regardless of their age. The polite forms of address, the subtle bows, the unspoken rules of where you can sit and stand. It's a social labyrinth you must navigate with extreme care. Above you are the Sandanmei and Makushita, the mid-level wrestlers. They have been in the stable for a few years, and they are the backbone of the Beia. They eat after the top-ranked wrestlers, but before you. They have fewer chores and more time to focus on their training. They have a quiet confidence, the look of men who have survived the trials you are still facing. You learn to speak to them with a specific respectful tone, always using the correct honorifics. But at the very top of the pyramid are the Sekitori, the elite wrestlers who have made it to the top 2 divisions of sumo. They are the suns around which the stable revolves. They live in a different world. They have their own private rooms, they eat first, and they are served by the junior wrestlers. Their yukata are made of fine silk, and their top knots, their chonmeige, are immaculately styled and oiled. They carry themselves with an air of quiet authority, a deep-seated confidence that comes from years of discipline and victory. There's a mainstream historical fact here. The sumo hierarchy is one of the most strictly maintained in all of Japanese society. Every aspect of a wrestler's life, from their clothing to their meals to their sleeping quarters, is determined by their rank. This system is not just about order, it's a constant, visible motivator. Every time a young wrestler sees a Sekitori living a life of comfort and privilege, they're reminded of the reward that awaits them if they endure and succeed. Historians still argue whether this strict hierarchy fosters a sense of discipline and camaraderie, or creates a system of quiet resentment and jealousy. It's a very fine balance, isn't it? The reward is great, but so is the cost of failure. A quirky or fringe tidbit is that the most junior members of the stable were not even allowed to walk on the same side of the street as the Sekitori when they were out in public. The junior wrestlers were expected to walk behind them and to a respectful distance. This was not just a show of respect, it was a form of protection for the Sekitori, who were seen as living gods. The idea was to create a buffer zone, a clear and visible separation that protected the star from the mundane world and gave him the space he needed to embody his spiritual role. It's a bit like having your own personal force field, powered by your rank. You learn the subtle language of the Beia, the way a senior wrestler will give a silent nod, a gesture that means you are dismissed. The way you must bow when you pass a Sekitori, a deep respectful bow that says, "I am a part of your world, but I am not your equal." You learn to keep your eyes down, to speak only when spoken to, and to never, ever question an order. This is a lesson in power dynamics, a constant reminder that your place is at the bottom. One evening, you make a mistake. A small, innocent mistake. You're setting out the Chanko bowls and you accidentally place a bowl meant for a senior wrestler in the wrong spot. The wrestler, a large man with a perpetually grumpy expression, sees your error. He doesn't say anything. He just looks at the bowl, then at you. His eyes are cold and unforgiving. The other wrestlers fall silent. The air in the room becomes thick with tension. You feel a familiar sinking feeling in your gut. This is it. The punishment is coming. He reaches out and with a single finger he taps the bowl. He looks at you, his gaze full of a quiet menace. You realise your mistake. The bowls are arranged in order of rank. You have violated a sacred rule. Without a word, he raises his hand and delivers a swift, stinging slap to the side of your head. It's a loud, sharp sound that echoes in the silent room. You don't flinch. You don't rub the spot. You simply lower your head and say, "My apologies." You move the bowl to its correct position. The moment of humiliation passes, but the lesson, the pain, stays with you. This is a life of constant correction. You are a student, and your teachers are everywhere. The senior wrestlers are a living, breathing rulebook, and every slap, every grunt, every raised eyebrow is a lesson in the way things are done. You learn to be hyper-aware of your surroundings, to anticipate the needs of others, to move with a quiet, practiced grace. Your ego, which has been systematically stripped away since you entered the stable, is now a ghost, a forgotten memory. In its place is a deep-seated sense of discipline, a profound understanding of your place in the world. As you navigate this complex social structure, you start to notice the subtle differences in the way people treat you. The local merchants, the people on the streets, they now see your yukata, and they treat you with a certain amount of respect. You're no longer just a big boy. You are a part of a revered institution. Your life is no longer your own, but it is also not insignificant. You're a member of a community, a part of a tradition that stretches back for centuries. But even with this new status, the life of a junior wrestler is lonely. You have friends, but they are all in the same boat, all struggling against the same tide of expectation and discipline. The bond between you and the other novices is a quiet one, a shared understanding of a life of hardship and sacrifice. You are comrades in arms, fighting the same battle, but you're also rivals. Every match is a competition. Every meal is a reminder of who is above you and who is below. It's a life of constant competition, a quiet war for status and survival. You lie in your cramped room that night, the sound of the senior wrestlers snoring a distant roar. You're at the bottom of the ladder, but for the first time you feel as if you can see the top. The path is long and the ladder is steep, but you have taken the first few steps. The sting of the slap on your head is a memory, a reminder of a lesson learned. The sting of hunger is a motivator, a reminder of the feast that awaits you at the top. You are a small boat in a great ocean, but you are still afloat. You are a novice, a joker, a nobody. But you are a nobody with a purpose, and in the world of sumo that is everything. As you continue your slow, methodical climb through the ranks, your world remains one of quiet servitude and back-breaking work. But as you progress, you gain a new vantage point. You're a little closer to the sun, a little higher on the pyramid, and from this new perspective you can see the world of the Sekitori more clearly. It is a world of privilege, a life of honour and respect that seems a million miles away from your own. The contrast is stark, a constant reminder of what you are striving for. You witness their morning rituals. While you are still sweeping the gravel courtyard, they are arriving at the training hall, their immense bodies glistening with a thin sheen of oil. They perform their exercises with a quiet grace, their movements precise and powerful. They don't engage in the same grueling Butsukari Geiko as the junior wrestlers. They are the mountains, and the junior wrestlers are the waves that crash against them. They train with a different purpose, not to build strength, but to perfect technique, to maintain their peak physical condition. They are the masters, the living proof that all the pain and sacrifice you are enduring is not for nothing. The life of a Sekitori is defined by a series of unspoken privileges. When they are ready for their morning bath, you and the other junior wrestlers must rush to prepare it. They do not have to wait for the water to be just right. The water is already just right. They do not have to worry about a misplaced towel. The towel is already there. You serve them in silent reverence, your head bowed, your eyes downcast. You are their shadow, their personal valet, and this is a privilege in itself, a chance to be close to greatness. You learn by observation. The way they carry themselves, the way they move, the way they hold their bodies. It's a silent masterclass in the art of being a champion. There's a mainstream historical fact here. The gap between a Sekitori and a lower-ranked wrestler is not just one of skill. It's a profound cultural and social divide. The Sekitori are not just athletes. They are public figures, idols, and in a way, living deities. Their elevated status comes with immense responsibility, but also with an unimaginable level of comfort and respect. This two-tiered system is a core part of sumo's structure, creating a powerful incentive for junior wrestlers to climb the ranks. and a stark consequence for those who fall from grace. Historians still argue whether this system is a powerful motivator for excellence or a relic of a class-based society that has no place in the modern world. It's a compelling debate, isn't it? The reward is great, but the gap is vast. A quirky or fringe tidbit is that the Sekitori were the only wrestlers allowed to wear a special type of silk topknot, the oishimage, that was shaped like a ginkgo leaf. This was a symbol of their elite status, a visual cue that they were not just any wrestler, but a champion. It was a sign of their rank, their power, and their immense dedication. For a junior wrestler, the sight of a Sekitori with a perfectly shaped oiled oishimage was a dream, a promise of a life you could only hope to one day achieve. The meals are the most profound and painful illustration of the divide. The Sekitori eat first, and their portions are generous. They're not just eating to fuel their bodies, they are feasting, a reward for their status. They eat in quiet conversation, their voices low and relaxed. You, on the other hand, sit on the sidelines, your stomach a constant hollow ache, and you watch them eat. You wait for them to finish, for them to get up and leave the table. Only then can you and the other junior wrestlers descend on the leftovers, a mad, silent scramble for the scraps. The scraps are still more food than you've ever had in your life, but the quiet humiliation of the act is a bitter aftertaste. You learn to eat quickly, to shove the food into your mouth before it's gone, but you also learn to be quiet, to be invisible, to show your gratitude for the privilege of eating. This is not just a meal. It is a lesson in humility, a reminder of your place in the world. But there are also moments, fleeting moments, where the divide seems to shrink. One afternoon, a Sekitori is practicing alone in the dojo. He sees you watching him, your broom still in your hand. He doesn't dismiss you. He looks at you and gives you a small, almost imperceptible nod. He then performs a complex move, a graceful, fluid motion that sends a shiver of awe down your spine. He does it a few times, a silent lesson, a gift from a master to a student. He doesn't speak, but his message is clear. Watch. Learn. This is the way. It is a moment of connection, a silent acknowledgement of a shared purpose. You're learning to be invisible, but you're also learning to see. You watch the Sekitori go about their daily lives, and you see not just the privilege, but the immense pressure. They are not just living in luxury, they are living under a microscope. Every victory is celebrated, but every loss is scrutinized. They carry the honor of the entire stable on their shoulders. They are not just fighting for themselves, they are fighting for their stable, for their master, for their legacy. You realize that the life of a champion is not just about comfort, it is about a different kind of burden, a different kind of pain. The world of the Sekitori is a goal, a dream, a promise. It is the reason you endure the pain, the humiliation, the endless chores. It is the light at the end of the tunnel. It is the reward for a life of quiet sacrifice. But you also realize that it is not an easy life. It is a life of immense pressure, of constant scrutiny, of the crushing weight of expectation. You're a long way from the top, but you're also a little closer to the bottom of that mountain of expectation. The view from here is a little clearer, and the path ahead is a little more daunting. But you are a fighter, and you are ready to climb. The sumo tournament is not just a series of matches, it's a national spectacle, a grand, theatrical display of strength, tradition, and ritual. As a lowly junior wrestler, your participation in the tournament is a brief, almost invisible affair. You have your few matches at the very beginning of the day, and then you are a part of the supporting cast, a silent presence in the background. But being in the Kokugikan, the sumo arena, is an education in itself. You're no longer just a boy from a village. You're a part of the grand spectacle, a piece of living history. The air in the arena is electric, humming with a palpable energy. The crowd, a sea of thousands, is a living entity, its moods shifting with every bout. They cheer for their favourites, a great roar that shakes the very floorboards. They gasp at a surprising turn of events, a collective intake of breath that seems to suck all the air out of the room. They fall into a hushed silence during a tense stare-down, the anticipation so thick you can almost taste it. You are a witness to a national obsession, a tradition that is a part of the very fabric of Japanese society. Your role in the tournament is a simple one, to watch and to learn. You're a spectator with a front row seat to the best show on earth. You watch the sekitori bouts with a quiet reverence, your eyes fixed on their every movement. You study their techniques, their postures, their subtle shifts in balance. You see their strength, but you also see their artistry. They are not just brawlers, they are masters of a complex and beautiful art form. The way a wrestler will sidestep a charge with a lightning-fast movement, the way they will use an opponent's momentum against him, the way they can find a moment of weakness in a seemingly unbreachable defense. It's all a part of the dance, a quiet, deadly ballet. There's a mainstream historical fact here. During the Edo period, sumo tournaments were major public events, drawing massive crowds and serving as a form of mass entertainment. The tournaments were not just sporting events. They were a chance for people from all walks of life to come together, to cheer on their local heroes, and to experience a slice of living history. The atmosphere was a mix of a modern-day rock concert and a religious festival. Historians still argue whether the commercialization of sumo during this period was a good thing, bringing the sport to a wider audience, or a bad thing, corrupting the sport and its values thing, diminishing its spiritual and religious roots. It's a debate that highlights the tension between tradition and progress. A quirky or fringe tidbit from this time is that the sumo rings were not always permanent structures. For the major tournaments, the rings were often built from scratch, and after the tournament was over, the clay from the doyo would be broken up and sold to the public as a good luck charm. People believed that a piece of the sacred clay, which had been blessed by the gods of the ring, could bring them good fortune. It's a strange thought, isn't it? The very ground you fight on, the source of so much pain and triumph, would be broken up and sold as a souvenir. You sit in the designated area for junior wrestlers, your eyes glued to the ring. You're a part of the grand spectacle, but you're also an outsider looking in. You see the sekitori and you see the future. You see the fame, the adoration, the respect. They walk around the arena like kings, their presence a quiet, powerful force. People whisper their names, they ask for their autographs, they stand in silent awe of their size and strength. You see the life you are working so hard to achieve, a life of honour and glory. But you also see the pressure. You see a wrestler who loses a match, and you see the quiet shame on his face. You see the way the crowd's roar of encouragement turns into a murmur of disappointment. You see the way his fellow wrestlers look at him, a silent understanding of his failure. The stakes are high, and the fall from grace is a long way down. You realise that a champion's life is not just about victory. It's about the constant crushing weight of expectation. You spend your time at the tournament not just watching, but also running errands for the sekitori. You fetch them water, you fan them between bouts, you hold their towels. You're a silent, invisible part of their success. You are the man behind the curtain, and you're learning that the show is not just what happens in the ring. The show is everything. The way a wrestler carries himself, the way he interacts with the crowd, the way he handles a loss, it's all a part of the performance. One afternoon, you're sent to the backstage area to fetch a new mawashi for a sekitori. You're walking through the narrow corridors, your heart a frantic drum when you see a wrestler, one of the best in the sport, sitting alone in a small room. He has just lost a match, a shocking upset, and his head is in his hands. You see the raw, unadulterated pain on his face. You see a champion who has been humbled, a king who has been dethroned, if only for a moment. You stop in your tracks, a silent witness to a private moment of agony. He doesn't see you. He's alone with his shame. You realise that the life of a champion is a lonely one. The higher you climb, the more alone you become. You get the mawashi and you return to the sekitori, your mind still on the image of the defeated champion. You hand him the belt and he gives you a small, tired smile. He's about to enter the ring for his next match. You see the weight of the moment on his face, the pressure to perform, the need to redeem himself. He doesn't seem to notice your presence. He's in a world of his own, a world of silent contemplation and a quiet resolve. You realise that the most important battles are not fought in the ring, but in the heart. The tournament ends, and you return to the Beya, your mind buzzing with the sights and sounds of the past few days. You're still a junior wrestler, a joker, a servant. But you're also a little more. You're a part of a larger world, a tradition that is a part of the very soul of Japan. The tournament was not just a series of matches. It was a lesson, a masterclass in the art of being a champion. You have seen the heights of glory and the depths of despair. You have seen the power of the crowd and the quiet loneliness of a champion. You have seen the beast in its true form, not just as a creature of power, but as a creature of immense weight and responsibility. And you know, deep in your heart, that this is the world you're fighting to enter. The life of a sumo wrestler is a constant battle, not just with your opponents, but with your own body. The brutal, high-impact nature of the sport means that injuries are not a possibility. They are an inevitability. You have been in the Bayer for a few years now, and you're no longer a raw, unproven boy. You're a seasoned junior wrestler, a veteran of dozens of matches, and your body is a roadmap of your journey. Every bruise, every sprain, every aching joint is a testament to the battles you have fought. Your first serious injury is not a result of a match, but of a training session. During a particularly brutal round of Butsukari Geiko, you are sent flying across the ring by a senior wrestler. You land awkwardly, a sharp, searing pain shooting up your ankle. You don't cry out. You don't even flinch. You just lie there for a moment, the pain a white-hot spear in your leg. You try to get up, but your ankle gives way, and you collapse back onto the dusty clay. The Oyakata watches, his face impassive. He doesn't come to your aid. He doesn't ask if you're okay. He just says in a flat, cold voice, "Get up." The message is clear. Pain is a part of the journey. You cannot let it stop you. You grit your teeth, and you slowly, painfully, pull yourself to your feet. You limp your way through the rest of the training session, your ankle a screaming protest with every movement. The other wrestlers see your limp, but they say nothing. They know. They have all been there. They know that this is a test of your mental toughness, not just your physical strength. You're not just fighting an opponent, you're fighting your own weakness. There's a mainstream historical fact here. The medical treatment for sumo injuries during the Edo period was often rudimentary and focused on traditional methods like acupuncture, moxibustion, and herbal remedies. There were no X-rays, no MRIs, no complex surgical procedures. A sprain was a sprain, a break was a break, and the only cure was rest and time. Wrestlers were expected to push through the pain and to continue training, a mentality that often led to chronic career-ending injuries. Historians still argue whether this lack of proper medical care was a sign of the period's limitations or a deliberate part of the tough love philosophy of the Bayer. It's a difficult line to walk, isn't it? One man's discipline is another man's permanent disability. A quirky or fringe tidbit is that many wrestlers believed the best way to heal a sprain was to apply a poultice made from a mixture of crushed herbs and fermented rice wine. They would then wrap the sprain tightly in a cloth and let the mixture work its magic. The belief was that the fermented rice wine would draw out the pain, and the herbs would help the body to heal. It's a bit of ancient folk medicine, a ritual of hope that helped them to cope with a world of constant physical agony. You will try it, and while you're not sure if it works, the scent of the rice wine is a small comfort, a reminder that you are at least trying to heal. You learn to hide your injuries. You learn to walk without a limp, to smile when your body is screaming in protest. You learn that showing weakness is a sign of a lack of resolve, a sign that you don't have what it takes to be a champion. You become a master of disguise, a silent actor in a play of pain. You see the other wrestlers doing the same. You see a senior wrestler favour his left knee, but he never mentions it. You see another with a bandage on his wrist, but he never complains. Pain is a secret you all share, a quiet understanding that binds you together. The psychological toll is immense. You're constantly in a state of discomfort, a low, simmering ache that never truly goes away. You wake up sore, you train sore, you go to sleep sore. The world is a constant source of pain, and you're expected to not only endure it, but to thrive in it. You learn to compartmentalize, to put the pain in a small box in your mind, and to deal with it later. You learn to focus on the task at hand, to block out the screaming of your body, and to just push through. One afternoon, you are in the training hall, practicing a new technique with an older wrestler. You're working on a specific move, a way to use your opponent's momentum against him. You perform the move, but you land awkwardly, and you feel a sharp, stabbing pain in your knee. You don't fall, you don't even wince. You just stand there, your face a mask of impassivity. The older wrestler looks at you, his eyes a quiet question. He can see the pain on your face, even if you are trying to hide it. He nods slowly, a small sign of respect. He says nothing, just a simple nod that says, "I see you. I understand. Keep going." It is a moment of profound connection, a silent understanding between two warriors who have both faced the same demon. you realize that endurance is not just a physical trait, it's a mental one. It's the ability to push through the pain, to ignore the screaming of your body and to just keep going. It's the ability to get up even when you have been knocked down. It's the ability to keep fighting even when you are on the verge of collapse. You are a mountain in the making, and every injury, every ache, every pain is a part of the process, a piece of rock that is being chipped away to reveal the granite beneath. The life of a sumo wrestler is a testament to the power of the human spirit. It is a life of constant pain, of chronic injury, of a body that is constantly being pushed to its absolute limits. But it is also a life of quiet endurance, of a deep-seated mental toughness that is forged in the fires of physical agony. You are a warrior, and your body is your weapon. It is a battered, bruised, and broken weapon, but it is also a testament to your will. The beast has learned to endure, and it knows that every moment of pain is a step closer to the top. The climb through the sumo ranks is a long, arduous journey, but it is not a one-way street. The same system that rewards you for your victories can just as easily punish you for your losses. As you slowly make your way up the ladder, you begin to feel a new kind of pressure, a quiet dread that lives in the shadow of every bout. This is the shadow of failure, the ever-present threat of demotion. Every rank you earn, every step you take up the ladder, is not a permanent achievement. It's a temporary position that must be defended with every fibre of your being. The tournaments are held 6 times a year, and each tournament is a new test. Your performance, your win-loss record, determines your rank for the next tournament. A winning record, or kachikoshi, means you will move up the ranks. A losing record, or makikoshi, means you will move down. For a junior wrestler like you, a demotion means you lose the few privileges you have fought so hard to earn. You might go back to performing more menial tasks, you might lose your spot in the Chanko line, you might even lose the quiet respect you have earned from the other wrestlers. The thought of it is a cold, sharp blade to your gut. There's a mainstream historical fact here. The sumo ranking system is a dynamic one, a meritocracy where a wrestler's standing is a direct reflection of their performance. This system, which has been in place for centuries, ensures that the most skilled and dedicated wrestlers rise to the top, while those who falter are sent back down to the lower ranks. It's a brutal but effective way of maintaining the highest standards of the sport. Historians still argue whether this constant pressure to perform is a healthy motivator or a source of immense psychological stress and anxiety for the wrestlers. It's a debate that pits the ideals of merit against the realities of human fallibility. A quirky or fringe tidbit from this time is that some wrestlers, in a desperate attempt to ward off a makekoshi, would perform a small, personal ritual before a bout. Some would place a small stone or a piece of wood from a sacred temple in their mawashi, believing it would bring them good luck. Others would perform a specific intricate knot in their belt, a sort of silent prayer for victory. These small private superstitions were a way for them to cope with the immense pressure, a small way to feel a sense of control in a world that felt so out of their hands. You will find yourself developing your own rituals, a secret set of beliefs that give you a sense of comfort in the face of uncertainty. You're in your 3rd year in the Beya, and you are facing your first serious challenge. You've had a few losses in the current tournament, and you're sitting on a losing record. Your next match is your last chance to turn it around, to secure a winning record and to avoid a demotion. The weight of the moment is immense. You're not just fighting for a victory, you're fighting for your future. You're fighting to stay on the path you have chosen, the path to glory. Your opponent is a large, powerful man, a veteran who has been in the sport for years. He is a mountain of muscle and experience, and you know, deep in your soul, that he is the better fighter. But you also know that you have no choice but to fight. You step into the doyo, the sacred clay beneath your feet, feeling strangely cold and unforgiving. The crowd roars, a familiar distant sound that seems to have no connection to the quiet, terrifying battle you're about to fight. You go through the ritual of the pre-bout stare down, a silent conversation between 2 warriors. You look into his eyes, and you see a quiet confidence, a deep-seated belief in his own power. You know he can feel your fear, but he says nothing. He doesn't need to. His posture, his eyes, his every movement speaks a language of quiet power. The referee gives the signal, and you charge. You hit him with everything you have, a desperate, powerful charge that is fueled by a fear of failure. He takes your charge without blinking, a mountain absorbing a wave. He then shoves you back, a single, powerful push that sends you reeling. You lose your footing and you go down. The referee's voice is distant, muffled sound. Winner! Him! You lie there on the clay, the cool dust on your face, and you feel a wave of shame wash over you. You have lost. You have failed. You will be demoted. The thought is a bitter taste in your mouth, a poison that seems to fill your entire being. You slowly get up, your head down, your face a mask of quiet shame. You don't look at the crowd. You don't look at the other wrestlers. You just walk off the dojo, a defeated man. You return to the bear, and the silence is deafening. No one says anything. They don't need to. The knowledge of your failure hangs in the air, a heavy, suffocating blanket. You're once again a yoka, a servant, a nobody. You have to start all over again. The path you have been climbing, the path you have fought so hard to stay on, has been cut short. The shame of it is a heavier burden than any amount of training or any number of chores. You spend the next few weeks in a quiet state of despair. You go through the motions of the training, the chores, the meals, but your heart is not in it. You are a ghost, a presence that is seen but not acknowledged. The other junior wrestlers look at you with a mixture of pity and a quiet sense of relief. They are glad it was you, not them. You are a living reminder of what can happen if you falter, if you fail. But in the midst of this despair, something changes. You remember the look on your father's face when you left the village, the quiet plea in his eyes. Do not shame us. You remember the pain of the journey, the hardship of your first few months in the stable, the countless hours of training. You remember the sting of the oyakata's slap, the silent lessons, the quiet moments of approval. You remember the feel of the clay beneath your feet, the roar of the crowd, the taste of victory. And you realize that you're not a failure. You are a warrior. You have been knocked down, but you're not defeated. The very next day you wake up before the sun, as you always do. But this time you have a new purpose. You sweep the floors with a new intensity. You train with a new ferocity. You eat your food with a new sense of purpose. You have nothing to lose and everything to gain. The shame of demotion, once a heavy weight on your soul, is now a powerful motivator. It's a burning fire in your belly, a quiet, intense rage that fuels your every move. You're no longer fighting for a rank. You're fighting for redemption. You're no longer fighting to avoid failure. You're fighting to prove that failure is not the end, but just another beginning. The beast has been humbled, but it is not broken. And now it is ready to climb again. Your journey back from the brink of demotion is a testament to your newfound resolve. You train with a ferocious intensity, and you eat with a ravenous hunger. Your demotion, once a source of deep shame, is now a powerful motivator, a constant reminder of the high stakes of this life. You win your matches, not just with power, but with a newfound intelligence and cunning. You're a different fighter, a man who has stared into the abyss of failure and refused to be consumed by it. You climb the ranks slowly but surely, and with each step a new world opens up to you. This is the world of the patrons and the public. As you rise through the divisions, you're no longer an anonymous face in a sea of wrestlers. You're a public figure, a celebrity. People recognize you on the street, and they no longer look at you with silent curiosity. They call out your name, a new name, a name that the Oyakata gave you, a name that is now your identity. The small-time merchants who once gave you an extra sweet now bow to you with a deep, respectful nod. They are no longer just merchants, they are your fans. You are no longer just a wrestler, you are a symbol. The life of a wrestler in Edo Japan was intrinsically tied to the public. Sumo was a major form of entertainment, a spectacle that drew crowds from all walks of life. The wrestlers were not just athletes, they were heroes, living legends who embodied the ideals of strength, honour and tradition. You're now a part of that legacy, a living myth in the making. There's a mainstream historical fact here. During the Edo period, sumo wrestlers were sponsored by powerful and wealthy patrons, known as Sumo Goshinjin. These patrons were often wealthy merchants or high-ranking samurai who saw supporting a wrestler as a sign of their own status and power. They would often provide the wrestlers with a place to live, food and other luxuries in exchange for the wrestlers' association with them. This system created a complex web of social and financial ties, a sort of ancient sports marketing. Historians still argue whether this system was a necessary source of income for the stables, or if it was a form of exploitation that gave the patrons too much control over the wrestlers' lives. It's a debate that highlights the fine line between patronage and ownership. A quirky or fringe tidbit is that some of these patrons would throw their finest coats or kimonos into the ring after a particularly impressive victory. This was a grand gesture, a public display of their admiration for the wrestler's skill and a sign of their wealth. The wrestler would then return the coat to the patron, a silent exchange of respect and gratitude. It's a bit like a modern-day sports fan throwing a jersey onto the field after a touchdown, but with a lot more silk and a lot more social significance. You will see this happen, and you will dream of the day when a coat is thrown for you. The patrons are a new, and sometimes confusing part of your life. They invite you to lavish dinners, where the food is a far cry from the simple chanko of the bear. They treat you with a deference that is both flattering and a little unsettling. You are a guest in their homes, a quiet, immense figure in a world of silk and fine art. They ask you questions about your training, about your life in the stable, and they listen with a rapt attention that makes you feel a little uncomfortable. You are an object of their fascination, a living, breathing testament to a world they can only imagine. But the most difficult part of this new life is the public scrutiny. You are a hero, but you're also a spectacle. Every move you make, every word you say, is watched and judged. The public loves you, but they are also fickle. A few losses, a misstep in your public conduct, and their adoration can turn into a silent, cold indifference. You learn to be careful, to be guarded, to be a public figure with a private inner world that no one can touch. You learn that fame is a double-edged sword, a source of great honour and immense pressure. One afternoon, you're walking through the streets of Edo, and a small boy runs up to you. He is a little older than you were when you left your village. He looks up at you with wide, adoring eyes. "You're the one," he says, his voice a quiet whisper. "The one who fought the demon of failure." The words are simple, but they are a thunderclap. He has heard your story. He has heard of your demotion and your comeback. You're not just a wrestler, you're a hero, a symbol of perseverance and triumph. He is a part of the public, and you realise that your story is no longer your own. It belongs to them. You reach down and gently pat the boy's head. You don't say anything, but your eyes speak a language of understanding. You are a testament to his hopes, a living proof that even in a world of rigid rules and high stakes, a boy from the country can make a name for himself. He runs back to his mother and you continue on your way, your heart a quiet drum of gratitude and humility. The life of a wrestler is a lonely one, but this new connection with the public is a small comfort. It is a reminder that you're not just fighting for yourself, you're fighting for them. You're fighting for the boy who looks up to you with a sense of wonder. You're fighting for the merchant who gives you a respectful nod. You're fighting for the patrons who have invested their wealth and their faith in you. You are a public servant, a living symbol of the spirit of sumo. The world of the patrons and the public is a new layer of complexity, a new set of rules and expectations you must learn to navigate. It is a world of immense rewards, but also of immense pressure. You're a long way from the boy who scrubbed pots and swept floors, but you're also a long way from the top. The climb continues, and with each step the world around you gets bigger, and the weight on your shoulders gets heavier. But you're no longer a boy from the country. You are a warrior of the ring, a hero of the people, and you are ready to carry that weight. Your climb continues, and with each new victory and each new rank, you feel the burden of your financial worries slowly lifting. The meagre allowance you received as a junior wrestler, enough for little more than a few sweets and a cup of sake, is now a thing of the past. You're a senior wrestler, a sekitori, and with this new status comes a new kind of freedom, the freedom of money. Your salary is substantial, and you're no longer just a servant. You are a man of means. You can afford to send money back to your family in the village, a quiet act of redemption that fills your heart with a profound sense of gratitude. The thought of your parents' faces, their quiet pride, is a powerful motivator, a constant reminder of why you are doing this. You're no longer just fighting for yourself. You're fighting for them, for the family you left behind. The life of a sekitori is a world of luxury and comfort. You no longer sleep in a cramped communal room. You have your own private quarters in the beya, a small but comfortable room with a soft futon, and a window that looks out onto a small garden. You no longer have to perform menial chores. You have a retinue of junior wrestlers who cater to your every need, from preparing your bath to fetching your meals. The tables have turned, and you are now the one being served. You are the mountain, and they are the waves that crash against you. The money you earn is not just a source of comfort, it is a symbol of your success. You can now afford to wear fine silk kimonos and have your hair styled by a master hairdresser. You can buy gifts for your family, and you can indulge in a few small luxuries for yourself. The boy who once longed for a simple sweet now has the means to buy an entire cart of them. The contrast is stark, a constant reminder of how far you have come. There's a mainstream historical fact here. The financial rewards for top-ranked sumo wrestlers during the Edo period were immense. They earned a substantial salary, which was supplemented by prize money from tournaments, bonuses from their patrons, and various other forms of income. This financial independence was a powerful incentive for young men to enter the sport, and a stark contrast to the poverty they often left behind. Historians still argue whether this system created a true meritocracy, or if it simply replaced one form of class structure with another, giving the top wrestlers a godlike status that was disconnected from the rest of society. It's a very interesting debate, isn't it? The freedom that comes with money versus the new kind of chains it can forge. A quirky or fringe tidbit is that many top-ranked wrestlers would use their newfound wealth to acquire and collect rare and expensive items, such as antique swords, intricate netsuke carvings, and priceless scrolls. This was a way for them to not only display their wealth, but to also show their refined taste and their deep connection to the cultural traditions of Japan. It's a bit like a modern-day celebrity with a private jet and an art collection, but with a lot more history and a lot more samurai swords. You will find yourself drawn to these beautiful objects, a way of feeling more connected to the world you now inhabit. Your fame is a new and sometimes overwhelming part of your life. You are a household name, a subject of conversation in tea houses and on the streets. People write songs about you, they paint your picture, and they talk about your every move in the ring. You're no longer a private person. Your life is a public spectacle, and you learn to live with the constant scrutiny. You are a hero, but you're also a prisoner of your own success. The public loves you, but they are also hungry for more, for new victories, for new triumphs. The pressure to perform is immense, a silent weight that you carry with you everywhere you go. One afternoon, you're walking through a bustling market, your immense body a magnet for all eyes. A woman, an old woman with a kind, wrinkled face, rushes up to you. She bows deeply and places a small, wrapped package in your hand. "A small token of my respect," she says, her voice trembling with emotion. You open the package, and inside you find a small, beautifully carved wooden figurine of a sumo wrestler. It's a simple, humble gift, but it means more to you than any amount of money or any lavish dinner. It's a sign that you're not just a celebrity. You are an inspiration. You thank her, your heart a quiet drum of gratitude, and you continue on your way, the small figurine a precious weight in your hand. You realize that your fame is not just about you. It's about the people who look up to you, who see in you a symbol of hope and perseverance. It's about the woman who gave you a small gift, a gift that was more valuable than gold. It's about the boy who saw you as a hero. Your fame is a responsibility, a duty to live up to the high ideals that the people have projected onto you. The life of a champion is not just a life of comfort. It's a life of constant pressure, of immense expectation, and of a new kind of loneliness. You have all the money you could ever want, you have the respect of the public, and you have the admiration of your peers. But you also have the knowledge that it could all be taken away in a single tournament, a single moment of failure. The shadow of demotion still looms large, a constant reminder of the fragility of your success. You lie in your new private room that night, the soft futon a world away from the hard, unforgiving mats of your youth. You are a long way from the boy who left the village, but you're also a long way from the end of the journey. You have reached a level of success that you could have only dreamed of, but you know that the climb is not over. The beast has been tamed, but it is not docile. It is ready for the next challenge, the next victory, the next chapter in your story. You're a champion, a living legend. But you're also just a man, and you know that the only constant in this life is the constant need to fight. Your life as a sekitori is not confined to the beya and the doyo. You're a public figure, a celebrity, and with that status comes a new set of rules and expectations that govern your life outside the ring. The strict discipline of the stable, once a suffocating blanket, is now a comfortable second skin, and you learn to navigate the world with the same quiet grace and immense power you show in the ring. The public expects you to be a living embodiment of the spirit of sumo, honourable, disciplined and unwavering. You are always on stage. Your personal life is no longer entirely your own. Your relationships are scrutinised by the public, by your stable master, and by the other wrestlers. A misstep, a moment of indiscretion, could not only damage your reputation but could also bring shame to your stable and your sport. This is a quiet, constant pressure, a new kind of chain that comes with your newfound freedom. You're expected to be a pillar of society, a role model for the young boys who dream of one day being just like you. There's a mainstream historical fact here. During the Edo period, a sumo wrestler's personal life was often managed by his stable master. The oyakata would often act as a matchmaker, arranging marriages for the top wrestlers with women from respectable and wealthy families. These marriages were not just about love. They were about securing a wrestler's financial future and strengthening the ties between the stable and its patrons. This system, while seemingly restrictive, was a way to ensure that a wrestler's life remained stable, and that he could focus on his career without the distractions of a complicated personal life. Historians still argue whether this system was a paternalistic form of care or an exploitative way to control a wrestler's life and legacy. It's a debate that highlights the tension between tradition and individual freedom. A quirky or fringe tidbit is that some wrestlers would use a special carved wooden inro, a small case for holding medicines or seals, that was shaped like a small bird or a fish. They would carry this inro with them everywhere, believing that it would protect them from bad luck and the prying eyes of the public. The small, secret charm was a way for them to feel a sense of privacy in a world that offered none. It's a bit like a modern-day athlete wearing a lucky charm, but with a touch of ancient mysticism and a whole lot of social pressure. You will find yourself drawn to these small secret charms, a way of feeling a sense of control in a world that feels so out of your hands. Your relationships with women are particularly complicated. You're a celebrated figure, a magnet for attention, but you are also under constant scrutiny. A woman who is not a part of your life in an official capacity is seen as a potential source of trouble, a threat to your reputation and your career. You learn to be cautious, to be guarded, to be a gentleman in public and a silent sentinel in private. The loneliness that you felt as a junior wrestler, the isolation of your early days in the stable, is replaced by a new kind of loneliness, the loneliness of a man who is always in the spotlight. You are expected to attend lavish parties and dinners, to be a part of the social fabric of Edo. You are a guest of honour, and you are expected to be charming, witty, and to hold your own in a world of powerful merchants and high-ranking samurai. You, the boy who once only knew the quiet life of a farming village, are now navigating a world of complex social rules and a quiet, unspoken language of power. You learn to be a good conversationalist, to hold your sake, and to be a gentleman in every sense of the word. One evening, you are at a dinner party hosted by one of your patrons. You're surrounded by powerful men who control the flow of money and influence in the city. They talk about politics, about business, about art. You listen, you observe, and you learn. You're no longer just a fighter. You're a student of a new kind of art, the art of social power. A beautiful woman, the daughter of a wealthy merchant, smiles at you across the table. Her eyes are bright and full of curiosity. She asks you a question about a recent match, and you answer her with a quiet, polite tone. She's a woman from a different world, a world of privilege and education, and you feel a strange sense of distance. You're a man who fights with his body, she's a woman who fights with her mind. The two worlds are 1,000,000 miles apart. You leave the party feeling a sense of quiet exhaustion. The social performance, the constant need to be on, is more tiring than a day of training. You return to the quiet of your room, and you feel a sense of relief. The world outside the Baya is a confusing and complicated place. The quiet, ordered world of the stable, the simple rules of the ring, the clear hierarchy. It is a comfort, a safe harbour in a chaotic sea. You are a man who has achieved his dreams, a champion who has all the money and fame he could ever want. But you are also a man who is a prisoner of his own success. The freedom that comes with money and fame is a double-edged sword, a source of comfort and a source of quiet loneliness. You have conquered the world of sumo, but you are still a student in the world of life, and you know deep in your soul that the most difficult battles are not fought in the ring, but in the heart. The beast has learned to navigate the world, but it knows that it is still a creature of the ring, a warrior who is most at home on the sacred clay. The years begin to blur into a rhythm of tournaments, training, and the quiet, ordered life of the bear. You're no longer a newcomer, you're a veteran, a respected figure in the world of sumo. You have reached the highest ranks, tasted victory, and felt the thunderous roar of the crowd. Your body, once a raw, unrefined instrument of power, is now a finely tuned machine, a monument to years of dedication and sacrifice. But even the finest machine begins to show its age. You're in the long twilight of your career, and you can feel it in every aching joint, every slow movement, every moment of rest. The injuries that you once brushed off with a silent grimace now linger. The small sprains and bruises take longer to heal. The chronic pain in your knees and back is a constant companion, a low, simmering ache that never truly goes away. You can no longer train with the same ferocious intensity you did as a young wrestler. Your morning Keiko sessions are a testament to your endurance, not your raw power. You're no longer the unstoppable force you once were. You're a cunning warrior, a master of strategy, a general who has learned to win battles with his mind, not just with his body. You watch the young wrestlers, the new generation, as they charge at each other with a raw, unrefined power that reminds you of yourself so many years ago. They are a blur of youthful energy, their bodies still unmarred by the slow, inexorable march of time. You see the same hunger in their eyes, the same quiet desperation to prove themselves, to climb the ranks, to become what you are now. You feel a strange mix of pride and a quiet, profound sadness. Their journey is just beginning. Yours is nearing its end. There's a mainstream historical fact here. The lifespan of a sumo wrestler's career is often short, with most retiring in their late 20s or early 30s. The immense physical toll of the sport, the constant injuries, and the sheer weight of a wrestler's body often lead to chronic health issues and a forced retirement. The final years of a wrestler's career are often a testament to their mental fortitude, their ability to continue to perform at a high level despite their physical limitations. Historians still argue whether this short career lifespan is a necessary consequence of the sport's brutality or a tragic waste of talent that could have been avoided with better medical care and a less demanding training regimen. It's a debate that highlights the tension between the pursuit of excellence and the reality of a human body's limitations. A quirky or fringe tidbit is that many older wrestlers would develop a specific, intricate ritual for their warm-ups. They would spend a long time massaging their joints, applying special balms, and performing slow, deliberate stretches. This was not just a warm-up, it was a way for them to acknowledge and pay respect to their aging bodies, a sort of silent conversation with the pain that was now a constant part of their lives. It's a bit like a modern-day athlete with a pre-game ritual, but with a lot more quiet contemplation and a lot more joint pain. You will find yourself developing your own rituals, a way of preparing your body for a fight it is not quite ready for. Your matches are no longer a matter of brute force. You're a master of feints and fakes, a samurai of the ring who has learned to win with a quick, decisive strike. You use your opponent's momentum against them. You find the small, imperceptible weaknesses in their defense, and you exploit them with a quiet, lethal precision. You're a chess player, and the dojo is your board. You're no longer the beast you once were. You're a master of the beast. But the pressure to win is still immense. You are a champion, and the public expects you to perform. They don't see the chronic pain in your knees, the arthritis in your hands, or the quiet exhaustion in your eyes. They see the legend, the hero, the man who they have watched climb from obscurity to greatness. The pressure to live up to that image is a new kind of weight, a new kind of pain. You're at a tournament, and you are facing a young, up-and-coming wrestler. He's a mountain of muscle and youthful energy, a raw, unrefined force of nature. He charges at you with a reckless abandon that reminds you of yourself so many years ago. You meet his charge with a quiet confidence, and you use his own momentum against him. A quick, almost imperceptible twist of your body that sends him reeling. He goes down, and you stand there, panting, your body screaming in protest. You have won. But it doesn't feel like a victory. It feels like a moment of escape. You have outsmarted him, but you know, deep in your soul, that you will not be able to outsmart him forever. The realization is a cold, sharp truth. Your time is short. The twilight of your career is not a slow, gentle descent. It is a quiet, brutal battle against an opponent you cannot defeat. You have to face the fact that one day you will not be able to get up from the clay. One day the young wrestler will be stronger, faster, and more powerful than you. The thought is a bitter taste in your mouth, a quiet fear that lives in the back of your mind. But you are a warrior, and you are not defeated yet. You have a few more matches in you, a few more victories to claim, a few more chapters to write in your story. You are a legend, a living myth, and you will not go out with a whimper. You will go out with a roar. You will fight every match as if it were your last. You will train every day as if it were your last. And you will live every moment as if it were your last. The beast has been tamed, but it is not docile. It is old, it is tired, but it is still a fighter. It is a testament to the power of a quiet, unyielding will. The moment you announce your retirement is not a grand theatrical event. It is a quiet conversation with your oyakata, a simple, unadorned statement that carries the weight of a lifetime. You tell him that your body can no longer sustain the rigours of the sport, that the injuries have become too many and the pain too great. He listens, his face a mask of impassivity, but you can see a quiet understanding in his eyes. He has seen this moment 100 times before. He knows that the end of a career is not a defeat. It is a natural conclusion, the final chapter of a story that has been years in the making. He gives a single, sharp nod of approval. The decision is made. Your fighting days are over. The final tournament is a strange, surreal experience. You are no longer fighting for a win-loss record. You're fighting for a legacy. The crowd knows this is your last tournament, and they roar your name with a new kind of intensity, a sound filled with a mix of admiration and a quiet, profound sadness. They are cheering for a man who is about to become a part of history, a legend in the making. Your matches are no longer a matter of brute force. They are a celebration of your career, a final performance for the people who have watched you climb from obscurity to greatness. Your final bout is a thing of beauty. You're facing a young, up-and-coming wrestler, a mirror image of your younger self. He is a mountain of muscle and youthful energy, and he charges at you with a raw, unrefined power that reminds you of yourself so many years ago. You meet his charge with a quiet confidence, and you use his own momentum against him. A quick, almost imperceptible twist of your body that sends him reeling. He goes down, and you stand there, panting, your body screaming in protest. You have won, but it doesn't feel like a victory. It feels like a quiet, peaceful goodbye. You have passed the torch. There's a mainstream historical fact here. Retirement ceremonies for top-ranked sumo wrestlers, known as danpatsushiki, are a major event. The ceremony is a symbolic cutting of the wrestler's top knot or shonmeige by his stablemaster, family, and other respected figures in the sumo world. This ritual signifies the end of a wrestler's active career and his transition into a new phase of life. It's a powerful, emotional moment that is a testament to the deep-seated traditions of the sport. Historians still argue whether the danpatsushiki is a beautiful and meaningful way to honour a wrestler's career, or a dramatic and public reminder of the end of a fighter's glory days. It's a debate that highlights the fine line between honour and melancholy. A quirky or fringe tidbit is that after a wrestler's retirement, he would often grow his hair out into a new style, a sign of his transition from a rikishi to a man of the world. But many wrestlers, in a nod to their past, would keep a small lock of their top-knot hair, a small secret memento of their fighting days, a quiet reminder of the pain and the triumph that defined their lives. It's a bit like a modern-day athlete keeping a piece of their uniform after a championship, but with a lot more hair and a lot more spiritual significance. You will find yourself drawn to this small, secret act, a way of holding on to a part of your past while you embrace your future. The retirement ceremony is a blur of emotion. You sit in the centre of the ring, your top knot a symbol of your career, and you watch as your oyakata, your family and the other men who have shaped your life, cut the hair that has defined you for so long. Each snip of the scissors is a quiet goodbye, a physical act of letting go. When the last strand is cut, you are a different man. You're no longer a warrior of the ring, you are a man of the world. The roar of the crowd is a distant, muffled sound. They are no longer cheering for a fighter, they are cheering for a legend. The transition to a new life is not an easy one. The body that was once a source of so much pride is now a source of quiet, chronic pain. The constant need to train, to fight, to endure is gone, and you feel a strange sense of loss. You're no longer a part of the world of the bear in the same way. You're a mentor, a coach, a retired legend, but you're not a fighter. The loneliness that you felt as a champion is replaced by a new kind of loneliness. The loneliness of a man who has achieved everything he has ever wanted and who now has nothing left to fight for. But you find a new purpose. You're a teacher now. You work with the young wrestlers, the new generation, and you teach them not just the techniques of sumo, but the quiet, unyielding discipline of the spirit. You tell them stories of your own struggles, of your demotion, of your injuries, of the long, lonely climb to the top. You are a living history book, and you are a testament to the power of a quiet, unyielding will. You are a long way from the boy who left the village, but you're also a long way from the man who was defined by his victories and his losses. You're now a man of legacy, a man who has a story to tell. Your life is no longer a series of battles. It is a quiet, peaceful journey of a man who has found a new purpose. The beast has been tamed, but its spirit lives on in the young wrestlers you now mentor. You have given them a part of yourself, and in return, they have given you a new reason to live. You are a man who has found a quiet peace, a man who has found a new purpose in the long twilight of a glorious career. And so you sit in a quiet room, a cup of tea in your hand, and you think about the life you have lived. The pain, the triumph, the loneliness, the quiet victories. It was all a part of a larger story, a story that you are now able to tell. You are a legend, a living myth, and you know, deep in your soul, that the most important battles are not fought in the ring but in the heart. The journey is over, but the story has just begun,